and welcome to Youth Group. It is our last week of our series, Choose Your Own Adventure. We've come a long way in the last few months, but the journey is almost over. Get it? We've gotten to that point in our adventure where you know that last epic battle is coming and our heroes need to save the world. But wait, this is your adventure story. So what problems would you solve? Would it be bullying? Maybe it would be world hunger, making sure that everybody had enough food and water. There are so many issues in our world today that we could go on and on about all of the problems that need to be fixed. But we don't have any superheroes or Jedis or wizards or hobbits to solve these problems for us. So is that the end of our story? In our story, do these world problems just remain unsolved? Or are there still a few battles that we have left to fight? Just like in every great adventure story, our world needs saving. The world, it's not as it should be, but I don't believe that it has to stay that way. We've been talking about the adventure that we're all on. It's a lifelong adventure of knowing and following God. So far, we've talked a lot about you and your journey. You might be the main character in your own story, but have you ever heard of a hero who was only concerned about themselves? No, that's really not a very compelling story. Jesus came to save the world, not himself. And if you know Jesus, he is calling you to join him on his mission to save the world too. Now, that sounds like an epic adventure to me. We heard in Matthew 25 that Jesus calls us to care for the least of these. Jesus is so serious about wanting his followers to care for those in the greatest need that he says loving those people is just like loving him. And not loving them is like not loving him. As Jesus followers, Jesus says we're supposed to look for things that are not as they should be and then work to repair them. This is a part of God's mission to save the world, and Jesus has invited us to be a part of it. Now, the book of James has a few more things to say about this. James is a really practical book that helps us turn our faith into action. This is James chapter 2, verses 14 through 18. What good is it, my brother and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, "Go in peace, keep warm and well fed," but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself is not accompanied by action, is dead. But someone will say, "You have faith and I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by my deeds." According to James, our faith in Jesus is worthless if it's not paired with action. James reminds us about what Jesus commanded, for us to care for the least of these. And do you know what's interesting? Neither James nor Jesus puts any kind of limitation on the type of person who is called to do this kind of work. Scripture doesn't say change the world someday, or when you're an adult, or when you've been following Jesus for a good long while, or when you've really got your faith thing figured out. No. When Jesus tells us to change the world by caring for those in the greatest of need, he isn't talking about someday in the future. He's talking about today. I know the problems of our world, they can seem almost impossible to solve. But isn't that true in every great adventure story? I mean, there's an impossible problem, a few ordinary heroes, and the decision to give it their all with the hope of saving the world. And that right there, that's that formula for a great adventure story. And it might be the formula for your next adventure too. Jesus came to save the world, and one of the ways that he did that was by caring for those in the greatest of need. Now he's calling you to do the same. With Jesus, you can change the world today, not someday. Hopefully by now you see that you have the ability to change the world through the love of Jesus. By choosing to care for the least of these, you can help solve some of the world's biggest problems. But why? Why should you even bother? Well, here are a few reasons. Because the world needs saving. I know your life isn't perfect, but that doesn't mean you can't help make somebody else's life better. We've listed plenty of problems that need to be solved in the world today. You will always be able to find someone in need of your help as long as you're willing to look. Another reason? Because you want to save the world. I mean, be honest. Haven't you always wanted to save the world? When you were little, you probably pretended to be a superhero or invented stories with your friends about saving the world. You might have grown out of that. You might not do that anymore, but I'm guessing there's still a big part of you that wants to make a difference. You want your life to mean something, and that's a good thing because that desire was given to you by God. And lastly, because caring for others makes you grow. When you decide to give love, serve, protect, and care for people in need, you might be surprised how your life changes too. Every time you do something to care for the least of these, I think you'll see that you grow in compassion, generosity, love, and in closeness to God. So what are you willing to do to change the world? Are you willing to open your eyes to the needs of others, to get a little uncomfortable, to even maybe make a few sacrifices? If you are, what do you think you'll gain? Greater compassion, greater love, greater purpose, a deeper relationship with Jesus, maybe even a story of adventure that's worth retelling. I don't know what you'll do with the challenge you've been given, but I hope you'll do something. You can change the world today, not someday. So will you?